Okay, here's the plan. The AAA game will serve as a retard magnet, drawing out the average gamer from their basement, and then the PR reps will come in from behind to hold them in place while the publisher thrusts their mighty DLC dick. If you don't understand the reference, you need to take the initiative to see how games will turn out in the video game market. We look at them, we analyze them, we follow up on them, and then we learn from them. You know the drill. We're following up on the games we looked at between July and September of 2014. Have they improved with time, or have they become worse? As always, this is not a review of these games, but a look at how they evolved over the past few months. Divinity Original Sin is a refreshing take on RPGs, not necessarily anything new, but it brings back the old style of gameplay where you have to figure stuff out on your own instead of relying on the UI to tell you where to go. I was expecting mods for the game, and it looks like they're just graphics mods, changing the models and textures of everything in the game, but no custom campaigns as of yet. They were pushing their toolset for creating content, but it doesn't seem like anyone's using it. At least no one seems to have announced anything yet, so I guess it's just a Skyrim modding type of deal here for the time being. There was a lot of post-game discussion after a lot of people beat the game. According to them, the game ended up not being as great as they originally thought. Acquisition of new spells is based on what a vendor happens to be carrying at the time. Inventory management becomes extremely clunky when a high volume of items is involved, and solving puzzles ends up turning into pixel hunts. You don't run into these issues within the first 30 or so hours, so of course, reviews don't actually catch them. Despite that, I would still recommend the game. It had a few freshly revealed flaws, but it's not enough to make me dislike it. Pixel piracy should never have left early access when it did. This was supposed to be a masterpiece, but they were too eager to get it out of early access and get people hyped for a complete game that they forgot to include a functional game. Is it a functional game now? Well, more or less. It's had a number of patches over the last few months, with some improvements like prioritizing cooking over cleaning. I'm still seeing crew members who are hungry continue to go hungry, while the ones who are well fed continue to have first dibs on food. Take a look at some of the more recent Let's Plays if you want to see more. Cannons are ineffective when the pathfinding and the AI are too dumb to use them. At least the actual combat works, but that doesn't say much when everything that goes along with it isn't working as good as it should. This was supposed to be a good game. Pirates, cannons, blowing stuff up, and boarding ships and taking everything. Instead, we have a frustrating game where all the cool things are barely working, even with all the improvements over the last few months. I'm still not enjoying this game. Dead Rising 3 has "designed for consoles" written all over it. This does not feel like a true PC game. It feels like a simple port that they sent out the door. Poor frame rates, terrible controls, stupid AI. It's supposed to be a silly, over-the-top game with crazy fun stuff. Yet so many problems with the game interfere with it. The game received 5 patches, mainly dealing with issues that caused the game to crash. One of them claims to increase performance. I actually bought a new video card since then, so naturally my frame rate will improve. But it seems people are still having performance issues. Other than that, I see no changes. It's still a stupid game. At the very least, they fixed some of the crashing issues. They already made their money, and now the game technically works. AAA game development in a nutshell. Wasteland II modernizes the older RPGs in a good way. Old school gameplay, new school tech. And I really like this because many of these older games are really good games, but they suffer from being old, if that makes sense. Lower resolutions means less information on the screen, and older UIs are very cumbersome to work with, and they just turn you off from the game. Wasteland 2 addresses that. I had a good feeling about this one because the developer was very good about responding to feedback and listening to the fans the whole time, and that continued over the last few months. I never came across any obvious bugs during my playthrough, but the ones that did exist have already been fixed. It's a solid game, and a solid developer that I can get behind for their next game. It's games like this that make me wish I had more time on my hands. It's estimated that your first playthrough will be around 60 to 70 hours. I have too much on my plate already, but I really want to come back to this eventually. Endless Legend tells a story across multiple games, which I have to say is quite an accomplishment since they're all highly replayable games based on procedurally generated content, not on linear story campaigns. The game is endless space with towns and armies instead of systems and fleets. This game also had a few patches, in fact, many patches that deal with both bug fixes and balance changes. But as expected, I'm having trouble finding anyone to play with. The community is still larger than what Endless Space had after a few months, so there's still a fairly good chance you'll find someone hosting a game every now and then. They haven't announced an expansion yet, but they seem intent on fixing any problems before then. I'd say they're doing a good job. They're trying to tie all 3 of the games in the Endless series together. The other 2 games also had updates to coincide with Endless Legend. I managed to play Dungeon of the Endless again, so as a bonus, here's another quick follow-up to the game. They finished the game! It's actually pretty good. It's fun, it's challenging, and you can select your starting characters and escape pods. I'm still holding them to the fact that they put that game out in early access too early, but the end result is pretty good. These are the games I looked at between July and September of 2014. Next time, we'll follow up on the games between October and December. Thanks for watching!